Ah, Christmas. It's such a happy time of the year. You get to be around your family, give each other gifts, go out and play in the snow, and just have a fun time in general. So in celebration of this wonderful holiday, I thought to myself, hey, why not review a Christmas-themed video game? And then I realized, I've barely played any Christmas-themed video games. So instead, I'm just going to review the Wonderful 101. At least it has some ice levels. The Wonderful 101 was surprisingly revealed during E3 2012 by the name of Project P100. It was a brand new title from the highly acclaimed Platinum Games, and even more surprising than the announcement itself was the fact that the game was going to be an exclusive for the Wii U. There was one problem though. Nintendo decided not to show the game off during their actual press conference, and instead waited to reveal the game during an after show on Spike TV. Yeah, real smart, Nintendo. I mean, you have a brand new exclusive IP being directed by Hideki Kamiya, the man behind masterpieces like Okami and Bayonetta, and you don't even show it during your E3 presentation? What? I mean, I certainly enjoyed that 10-minute demonstration we got of Nintendo Land instead. Wonderful 101 starts you off playing as an elementary school teacher by the name of Will Wedgwood, who has a secret identity as Wonder Red, one of the Wonderful 100. Almost immediately after you start playing as Wonder Red, the game introduces you to another one of the Wonderful 100, Wonder Blue. There are 7 main members of the Wonderful 100, but I'll talk more about them a little bit later. Other than those 7 main members, there are also 93 other permanent Wonderful members you'll be able to collect and use throughout the game, including the likes of Wonderful Professor, Wonder Guitar, and one of my personal favorites, Wonder Beer. These other characters you collect will have the same abilities as the 7 main Wonderful superheroes, and the only real difference is that you can level each character up individually. All these heroes have been assembled to protect Earth from a group of alien invaders known as the Geth Jerk. There are tons of different forms the Geth Jerk take, each with a weirder name than the last. For some reason, going into the Wonderful 101, the story of the game wasn't exactly what I was excited for, but little did I know it would turn out to be fantastic. Like you might expect from a game directed by Hideki Kamiya, the story is absolutely bonkers. Each operation one-ups the last and amps up the craziness to an absurd degree, and I absolutely love it because of this. It almost feels as though you're playing a Saturday morning cartoon, and the game feels very reminiscent to something like the Power Rangers, except way more silly. This is true in part because of the great writing, but also because of the outstanding voice work and music as well, which also appropriately sound like it came from a Saturday morning cartoon. With tons of twists and turns, I couldn't help but thoroughly enjoy the story throughout the entire game. Once you experience this tale firsthand, you'll understand how the Wonderful 101 was Platinum's most expensive project to date. Now, I like a good story here and there, but that alone doesn't make a good game. When Nintendo first showed off the Wonderful 101, it was kind of hard to determine what the game really was, but as a fan of Platinum, I knew it wouldn't disappoint. The Wonderful 101 is sort of like a mix of a bit of Pikmin, a handful of Bayonetta, a dab of Okami, and a pinch of Beautiful Joe, just for good measure. And what a delicious combination it is. Like Pikmin, you collect hordes of people to fight alongside you. The more you have, the stronger you'll be. The main gimmick of the game is very similar to Okami's paintbrush system, and the gameplay, along with many of the upgrades, seem to be pulled directly from Bayonetta's bag of tricks. Being an action game at its core, the mechanics of the Wonderful 101 are extremely important to the overall quality of the combat. Thankfully, the combat shines, and it's all due to that gimmick I mentioned earlier. As you progress through the game, you'll make use of these things called Unite Morphs. Using the horde of superheroes at your disposal, you'll be able to draw different shapes or lines to activate these Unite Morphs. The more superheroes you have at any time with you, the larger and stronger your Unite Morphs will become. Each of the 7 main characters have a unique Unite Morph that has its own unique ability. Wonder Red has the Unite Fist, which is a strong attack that is somewhat slow, but can also absorb fire-based attacks. Wonder Blue makes use of the Unite Sword, which has great range and is also fairly powerful. The chubby Wonder Green makes use of a gun that uses your actual superhero cohorts as bullets to shoot at your enemies. You get the idea. Each Unite Morph feels unique and will be useful throughout the game, and none of them really get old. While the combat may not seem extremely deep when you first start playing, you'll soon find out that there's so much more to it than its simple morphs and button presses.
The true depth of Wonderful 101's combat comes in the myriad of ways you can chain together attacks and take out enemies. As you morph into one weapon, you can at the same time draw new morphs that will automatically attack your opponents. You can also, for example, use your Unite Sword and knock an enemy into the air, then while in mid-air morph into the Unite Fist to do even more damage. There are so many different possibilities and each player will find a different way to play. Add in the fact that almost every enemy has a completely unique way to be defeated, be it with a dodge or with the use of a certain Unite morph, and you have one of the most profoundly satisfying combat systems in any action game to date.
Let's talk about the controls for a minute now. I mentioned earlier that you needed to draw a different shape for each Unite morph, and this was one of the biggest issues critics seem to have with the game because apparently these drawings wouldn't register properly. I'm here to tell you that's just not true.
Each one of the Unite morphs has a unique shape associated with it. The fist is a circle, the sword is a straight line, and the whip is a curly line, for example. Pretty simple stuff. Some of the more confusing designs come later in the game when you unlock the Unite Hammer and the Unite Bomb. You can either input these shapes using the Wii U gamepad's touchscreen or with the right analog stick on either the gamepad or the Pro Controller, but I highly recommend using the analog stick. While drawing a shape on the gamepad may be faster, the fact that you have to lift your hand away from the buttons to draw is not ideal in a fast-paced action game like the Wonderful 101. Like almost any sort of action or fighting game, there's a learning curve, and also with those types of games, practice makes perfect. After using the Unite morphs for an extended period of time, you'll be able to pull off each one with almost 100% accuracy. Sure, there might be times earlier on where you try to draw the Unite Hammer, only to get the Unite Whip instead, but this is generally user error. The drawings are each very distinct, and learning the nuances of each shape will do you wonders.
So far, I've done nothing but praise the Wonderful 101, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. The game definitely has some flaws, and they're ones that I think easily could have been remedied.
The Wonderful 101 suffers from a severe lack of guidance when it comes to the game's mechanics and enemies. This isn't normally something I'd knock a game for, as learning the ins and outs of a game can absolutely be satisfying. But there are many moments where you'll surely become frustrated because you lack a certain piece of knowledge that probably should have been given to you earlier on in the game. Often playing missions through a second time will be much more satisfying than the first go-around. To go along with this, you start off with no upgrades whatsoever, when there are a couple that are absolutely essential. After the prologue, you're dumped back out into the menu, but an unsuspecting player might not think to check the Wonderful Mart for upgrades at this time, and even if players do go into the Wonderful Mart, they might not decide to buy the upgrades that are the most important. For anyone that's thinking about playing this game, I urge you to buy the Unite Guts upgrade as well as the Unite Spring upgrade. These are musts. Later on, you'll also unlock the ability to use Unite blocks, of which you can only really use a limited number of at any given time. I highly recommend buying the speed charge block when it becomes available, as one of the other problems I have is with what the game calls the Unite gauge. I didn't mention this earlier when I was talking about the Unite morphs, but every time you use a Unite morph, your Unite gauge will decrease. The larger your Unite morph, the more of your Unite gauge it will use. This Unite gauge will feel like it depletes ridiculously fast near the beginning of the game and refills at a painfully slow pace. The speed charge block will help resolve that issue, but I honestly just wish these upgrades would have been given to the player at the outset, as I couldn't imagine playing the game without them. One other thing I can't forget to mention are the moments where the view switches from the TV to the gamepad. A couple of times there are some novel puzzles accompanied with these transitions, but most of the time I find myself dreading these moments. The camera becomes cramped and switching your views from the TV to the gamepad isn't exactly ideal. Thankfully, you can easily switch between views on your TV, and you can even have a sort of picture-in-picture view at the press of a button. Despite these faults though, it's pretty easy to look past them, especially when the rest of the game is so incredibly well done. The visuals are crisp and clean with a frame rate that runs at a rock-solid 60 frames per second. There's a bonus multiplayer mission mode stacked on top of what is already a 20+ hour game. And there's even a mission that's quite frankly just basically Punch-Out, and that's fucking awesome.
I adore the Wonderful 101. everything about the game just clicked for me. There's so much variety, so much wackiness, so much fun to be had that it's hard for me not to give this game my highest recommendation, despite some of its shortcomings. It's without a doubt my favorite game on the Wii U, and easily my favorite game of 2013. I'd even say it's pretty wonderful.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this video as always. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, hit that like button. It does help me out a little bit. And if you want to keep up to date with all the other stuff I do, hit that subscribe button as well. But since it is the season of giving, I thought I'd show you guys a couple other videos from guys I think you should check out. You can check out Rated S for Sandwich, also known as Todd, over there, and also check out Smashmaster Show over there. They're two really awesome guys and they make great videos. I also did want to mention I'm going to be at MagFest from January 2nd through 5th, so if you for some reason are there and you want to say hi to me, by all means go ahead and do that. But yeah, I just want to say thanks once again to everyone who's been watching my videos. It's been such a fantastic year. And with that being said, I just want to say happy holidays to everyone and have an awesome new year.